Hello! All right, so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my absolute best exercises for identifying and relieving tongue tension. Tongue tension is an issue that I see with a lot of singers. So if this is something you're struggling with, you're not alone. It does not mean you have a bad voice. It does not mean you're a bad singer. You might actually already be a professional singer. You might be booking gigs or doing auditions. Maybe you're taking lessons or coachings. If that is you, a good question that I get is, well, I'm already working. Do I really need to address this right now? But what I want to remind you is that the tongue is not its own entity, okay? The tongue is connected to so many different parts of the vocal tract. So if you do have tongue tension, you might also have jaw tension. If you have tongue tension, you might be depressing your larynx, which then affects your breath and your breath control. So if you're willing to put in the work, I guarantee you, by relieving tongue tension, you are going to find so much more freedom and agility in your sound. The first exercise we're going to start with is actually a stretch. So we are going to stretch the tongue to the left, to the right, up, and then down. And when you're doing this, I want you to repeat this move. Maybe start with 3 times. If you have time, you can do 5 times, maybe 10 times, whatever feels comfortable for you. So to begin, we're going to go to my left. When you're doing this, it's okay if your jaw moves too, because that's going to help release the root of your tongue, and that's where we want to feel the stretch. Okay, so I'll demonstrate. To the left, so that was 3 times. I'm going to do it to the right just to even things out. Okay, then you can go up 3 times. I'll just do it once. And then down. So all of these moves are again to just help release and stretch the root of the tongue. For this next exercise, I want you to grab a pencil. If you have a traditional wooden number 2 pencil, that's ideal because it's lighter than a mechanical pencil. In either case, make sure it has been disinfected or it's clean to your comfort level, because we're going to be using this under the tongue. Now, when I'm gonna look at the monitor to make sure I'm showing you correctly. When you do this, you're gonna put the pencil under your tongue, and then the tip of your tongue has a few options. Because everyone's mouths are different, your teeth are different, your jaws are different. If you can, you're gonna want to keep your tongue touching the inside of your bottom teeth. Okay, I'll try and... If that's not comfortable for you, you can also have your tongue on the outside of your teeth. And then you can also, the third option would be to have your tongue completely in front of your bottom lip. Now, each one of these positions has their own advantage and disadvantage. If the pencil's resting too much on your teeth, then you're not forcing the tongue out as far as maybe you could. So for me, I like to have my tongue in front of my teeth. Okay. Now, when we are in position, we're going to sing just 5 tones down, okay? This is a G, so I'll demonstrate for you. Now you can probably see on the camera, my tongue is flinching. It's trying to come back into my mouth. So we're really trying to resist that urge and keep the tongue out and forward. If you can't hold a pencil up just yet, that's okay. Go ahead and stick your tongue out all the way, but before you do that, I want you to make sure your jaw is releasing down and back. Remember before I said that tongue tension can be related to jaw tension? So unlike when you're at the doctor's office and they say open wide, that's pushing my jaw forward. Instead, I want it down and back, and then I'll stick my tongue out. It's going to feel a little muffled, but that's just because the root of your tongue is a lot higher. When doing this exercise, to begin with, you want to start in a very comfortable range. Eventually, you want to use this exercise to identify where your tongue feels the most tension in your voice. So for some singers, it's in that higher range. There's a tendency for the tongue to pull back in the high note. And for other singers, there's a tendency for the tongue to maybe depress when you're singing lower notes. So play around with it. It's going to be different for every singer, but start in a comfortable range before you expand to the top or the bottom. After using the pencil, the next exercise I like to use is very similar to a hum. So again, you're going to release the jaw down and back, and then you're going to stick the tongue out and then gently close the lips around, okay? In this position, you'll probably still feel the root of your tongue trying to sneak back in, and you want to resist that. We're still going to do 5 tones going down very gently, very slowly. Let me make sure my jaw's in place. Same as before. You want to start in a comfortable range and then use this exercise to identify where in your range you may or may not need a little bit more release in the tongue. Now, finally, we're going to apply an exercise to an actual song that you're working on. So we're going to start with an NG sound, similar to at the end of the word sing, that sound. The best description I have for you to get in a proper position is you want the tip of your tongue to be resting on the inside of your bottom teeth, and the sides of your tongue are going to be touching the inside of your top teeth, or really your top molars toward the back. The tongue in a nice, comfortable position should feel very light and fluffy, almost like a pillow just resting in your mouth. When you have your tongue touching your teeth, you don't want to press against the teeth. That's going to engage more muscle, and we don't want that. We're trying to program our tongue to be really relaxed and just loose. Okay, so again, tip of your tongue touching the inside of your bottom teeth, and then sides of your tongue on the top inside molars. And then we're going to say that NG sound. Again, double check your jaw because that's very closely related to tongue tension. Trying to think, a song that I've been working on. So if you know the tune, Nat King Cole, I love you for sentimental reasons, I'm just going to use that little melody to demonstrate. So on NG, now I started slowly because the main goal is not the song, it's not the melody. The main goal is focus on the tongue. Eventually, you can speed it up. Once you get a little bit more comfortable with that tongue position. One big reminder I want you to have in the back of your head for all of these exercises is, again, the tongue is very closely related to a lot of different things that are happening when we produce sound, including your breath. So for all of these exercises, you will probably notice you need far less air than you're used to. The more air we push, the more our tongues want to depress and control that air. So to start, really, really gentle, almost, you're not like a whisper, but like you're singing a lullaby. You want it to be very relaxed and almost conversational in your breath. Something I wish I had known before I started addressing tongue tension in my own singing is that because you are forced to use a lot more air with a tense tongue, once you free that tongue, you don't need as much air, and therefore your initial sounds might actually be sharp. You might accidentally start singing sharp because you're using way more air than you actually need. So again, with all of those exercises, play around with your breath, play around with the amount of air you use, and if your intonation or your pitch seems a little wonky during this process, that's okay, because you're getting rid of so much tension that forced you to use a lot of air before. And now you don't need as much. So eventually it's going to be a lot easier and way more enjoyable to sing, but the process can be a bit frustrating at times. So just be patient with yourself and stick with it. And that's it for today. Hopefully you find these exercises helpful. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I'm happy to help. Otherwise, I will see you next time.